Hello everyone, and welcome to Whispering Woods. I'm here to help you unwind tonight, to slow your breathing, clear your thoughts, and drift into calm. Before we begin, take a deep breath, and if you'd like more quiet nights like this, remember to like this story and subscribe so you'll never miss tomorrow's tale. Your support helps keep the woods whispering. Find a comfortable place, let the world outside fade, and just listen. Tonight's story begins softly, somewhere quiet, where time moves slower, and the world feels gentle again. The rain has been falling for 3 days now. Not the harsh, demanding kind that pounds against windows and floods the streets, but the patient sort, the kind that whispers rather than shouts, that settles into the earth like an old song you've heard before, but can't quite remember. It's the kind of rain that makes you forget what sunshine feels like until you're not sure you ever knew at all. And tonight, as the mist curls through the valley and the clouds hang low enough to touch the treetops, you find yourself standing before a cottage you don't quite remember seeking. But here it is. Weathered stone, smoke rising from the chimney, a single lamp glowing amber in the window. And somehow, without knowing why, you understand that you were always meant to find this place. The path leading to the cottage is overgrown with moss, soft beneath your feet like walking on memory itself. Wildflowers grow in careless abundance along the edges, pale blues and whites that seem to glow faintly in the gathering dusk. You notice how quiet everything has become. The rain continues its gentle percussion on the leaves overhead, but there are no birds, no distant sounds of traffic or civilization. Just the rain, just your footsteps, just the steady rhythm of your own breath, slowing now, matching the tempo of this strange and peaceful place. Each step you take releases the scent of earth and growing things. The moss gives slightly under your weight, then springs back, resilient and soft. You notice the details as you walk, the way water droplets cling to spider webs stretched between tall grasses, each one a tiny prism catching what little light remains in the sky. The way the mist moves, not randomly but with purpose, as if it knows exactly where it's going and is in no hurry to get there. The way your shoulders, which have been tight for longer than you can remember, begin to drop and relax, as if the very air here has properties that ease tension, that invite release. The cottage grows larger as you approach, revealing more of itself with each step. The stones are not uniform. Some are dark gray, others lighter, some rounded and smooth, others still showing the rough edges of their quarrying. They've been placed with care, fitted together like a puzzle solved long ago, and the mortar between them is thick with age, darkened by weather and time. The roof is slate, its tiles arranged in overlapping rows that have kept this place dry through countless storms. Some tiles are newer than others, replacements for those that finally gave way after decades of service, and you can tell by the slight variation in color which generation of caretakers made which repairs. As you draw closer, you can see that the cottage is older than you first thought. The stones are rounded smooth by centuries of weather, and the wooden door is thick and dark with age, its iron handle worn to a dull shine by countless hands before yours. Vines climb the walls, not choking them but embracing them, as if the forest and the cottage have reached some ancient understanding. The windows are small, their glass rippled and imperfect, and through them you can see the flicker of firelight dancing against interior walls. There's a small garden to the left of the door, you notice now. Even in the rain, even in this season that's hovering between autumn and winter, things are growing. You can see the dark green of herbs, rosemary, perhaps, and thyme, and the silvery leaves of something you don't recognize. Stone borders contain each bed, and the paths between them are lined with smooth river rocks that have been worn down by water and time until they're almost perfectly round. Someone tends this garden with love, you can tell. There are no weeds, no chaos, just the ordered abundance of a space that receives attention, care, and understanding. You raise your hand to knock, but before your knuckles meet the wood, the door opens. Not with a creak or a groan, but silently, as if it had been waiting. Warmth spills out into the cool evening air, carrying with it the scent of wood smoke and something else, herbs drying, perhaps, or bread baking, or old books slowly releasing their secrets into the atmosphere. You step inside, and the door closes behind you with the softest of clicks, like a period at the end of a sentence. Like the world outside has become a story you were telling, and now you've turned the page to something new. The interior is a single room, but it feels vast in the way that small spaces sometimes do when they're filled with the right kind of presence. The ceiling is low, crossed with dark beams that disappear into shadow. The fire burns steadily in a stone hearth, its light touching everything with amber and gold. The worn wooden table, the mismatched chairs, the shelves lined with jars and bottles filled with things you can't quite identify. Dried flowers hang in bundles from the beams, their petals faded to soft browns and grays. But you can still smell them faintly, like summer trapped in stasis, waiting patiently for spring. The floor is made of wide wooden planks, worn smooth by generations of footsteps. In some places, you can see the grain of the wood clearly, raised slightly where the softer parts have worn away faster. In other places, there are dark stains, not dirt, but the kind of darkness that comes from oil and wax applied, lovingly over decades, protecting the wood, feeding it, keeping it strong. A few rag rugs are scattered across the floor, their colors faded, but their weave still tight and strong. You can imagine someone sitting by this very fire, working at a loom, sending the shuttle back and forth, creating these rugs one thread at a time, one row at a time, with the patience that comes from understanding that good things cannot be rushed. There's no one here to greet you, but you don't feel alone. The cottage itself seems inhabited by something more than emptiness, a presence, perhaps, or simply the accumulated weight of all the quiet moments that have unfolded within these walls. You can almost hear the echo of conversations long finished, the ghost of laughter, the whisper of pages turning in the deep hours of the night when the world is suspended between one day and the next. The walls are plastered, painted a color that might once have been white but has aged to a soft cream with hints of gold from the firelight. Here and there, the plaster has cracked slightly, revealing the stone beneath. But even these imperfections seem intentional, as if the cottage is slowly revealing its true nature, layer by layer, year by year. Shelves have been built into alcoves that seem designed specifically for them, and these shelves hold more than you could catalog in a single glance. Books and jars and small wooden boxes, candles and cups and bowls, things made of pottery and things made of glass. Each object placed with consideration, each one serving its purpose or waiting patiently for its purpose to be revealed. On the table, you notice a cup. Steam rises from it in delicate spirals, which is strange because you heard no movement, saw no one preparing anything. But there it is, waiting. You move closer, drawn by the warmth, by the invitation implicit in its presence. The liquid inside is dark, almost black, but it catches the firelight and seems to glow from within. You lift the cup, it fits your hands perfectly, as if it were made for you, as if you've held it 1,000 times before in dreams you can't quite remember. The cup itself is beautiful in its simplicity. It's made of clay, glazed in a deep brown that shades to black at the rim. There are no decorations, no painted designs, just the honest reality of earth transformed by fire into something that can hold warmth, that can bring comfort. The handle is smooth under your thumb, shaped to fit the curve of your grip. You can feel the slight ridges left by the potter's fingers, the evidence of human hands working the clay on a wheel somewhere, sometime, shaping this vessel with care and skill and attention. The first sip is warmth itself, spreading through your chest like sunlight through fog. It tastes of rain and earth, of things that grow in shadow, of comfort you've been seeking without knowing its name. There are layers to the flavor, something herbal and green, something slightly bitter like dark chocolate, something sweet like honey, and underneath it all, a warmth that has nothing to do with temperature and everything to do with the feeling of being welcomed, of being expected, and of arriving somewhere you didn't know you were going, but that was waiting for you nonetheless. You sink into one of the chairs by the fire, and it receives you like an embrace, the wood shaped by time into curves that match your body precisely. The fire crackles softly, and you watch the flames dance their eternal dance, never the same twice, always exactly what they need to be. The wood burns with colors mostly orange and yellow, but occasionally blue, where some mineral in the wood creates a different kind of flame, and sometimes green, and sometimes even purple. Just for a moment, just long enough to make you wonder if you really saw it, or if it was a trick of tired eyes and dancing light. If stories like this calm your thoughts, you're home here in whispering woods. Time becomes elastic in the cottage. You're not sure if you've been sitting for minutes or hours. The rain continues outside, a constant companion, and the fire burns without ever seeming to consume its fuel. The logs in the hearth look whole, unchanged, as if the fire is burning something else, something invisible, something that replenishes itself as quickly as it's consumed. You notice details slowly, the way one does when there's no rush, when the world has slowed to the pace of honey, pouring, of ice melting, of roots growing deep beneath the earth where no one watches. The mantelpiece above the fire holds a collection of objects, each one clearly placed with intention. There's a small clock, but its hands don't move, frozen at some hour that might mean everything or nothing. There's a piece of driftwood, worn smooth by water and time, its grain creating patterns that look almost like a landscape. All contained in a single piece of wood no longer than your hand. There are candles in brass holders, their wax pooled and hardened in layers that speak of many lightings, many evenings spent in contemplation or conversation or comfortable silence. There's a small mirror, too, its frame dark with age, and when you glance at it, you see your own reflection, but softer somehow, gentler, as if the mirror is showing you not how you look, but how you feel, and what you feel. Sitting here, in this chair, by this fire, in this cottage, is peaceful, more peaceful than you've been in longer than you can remember. The lines of worry on your face seem less pronounced. The tightness around your eyes has eased. You look, you realize, with something like surprise, content. There are books on the shelves, their spines cracked and faded, their titles written in scripts you don't recognize. Some are so old that the leather bindings have become soft as cloth, and the metal clasps that once held them closed have turned green with verdigris. Others are newer, but still worn, still loved, their pages softened by countless readings, their corners turned down to mark favorite passages, their margins filled with notes in various hands from various times. You rise and move toward them, drawn by that peculiar gravity that books exert on certain souls. Your fingers trail along the spines, and you can feel the stories sleeping within them, waiting for the right reader, the right moment, the right quality of silence in which to wake. The books are arranged in no order you can discern, not alphabetically, not by size, not by subject. It's as if they've arranged themselves according to some principle known only to them, some secret organization that has nothing to do with human systems of classification and everything to do with affinity, with resonance, with the mysterious way that certain things belong together, even when logic says they shouldn't. A slim volume of poetry leans against a thick tome about medicinal herbs. A collection of fairy tales from one culture sits beside a scholarly work on astronomy from another. A book of watercolor paintings is wedged between two journals with blank pages, as if it's showing them what they might become, what possibilities they contain. You select one at random, or perhaps it selects you, it's hard to tell which. The cover is dark green, unmarked. And when you open it, the pages release a scent of vanilla and must, of time compressed and preserved. But there are no words inside. Instead, the pages are filled with pressed flowers, each one labeled in a careful, spidery hand. You recognize some lavender for peace, rosemary for remembrance, forget-me-nots for love that endures beyond memory. But others are unfamiliar, their names written in that same indecipherable script, their colors faded to ghostly versions of what they once were. Each flower has been pressed with obvious care. The petals are flat and smooth, still attached to their stems, and you can see the detail. Of each one, the tiny hairs on some leaves, the delicate veining in some petals, the structure of stamens and pistils perfectly preserved. Someone spent time with these flowers, you realize. Someone noticed them when they were blooming, selected them at the perfect moment, carried them back to this cottage, placed them carefully between sheets of paper, and then waited for the moisture to leave them, for them to dry and flatten and transform from living things into preserved memories of living things. The labels are works of art in themselves. The handwriting is elegant, flowing, done with a pen that required dipping and careful attention. Some labels give only the common name of the flower. Others include the date it was collected, and sometimes a location by the stream, near the old oak, in the meadow where the deer come at dawn. A few have longer notes, brought by A, who remembered, or the last of the season, or found growing where none should grow. These notes hint at stories, at moments, at meanings you can only guess at. You carry the book back to the fire and turn the pages slowly, studying each specimen. There's something meditative about it, something that quiets the mind even further. Each flower is a moment captured, a piece of summer preserved against the inevitability of winter. You wonder who collected them, whose hands carefully pressed each bloom between these pages, whose patience allowed them to dry into this fragile immortality. And you wonder why this book, of all the books on those crowded shelves, called to you tonight. On one page, you find a flower unlike any you've seen before. Its petals are so pale they're almost translucent, and their shape is unusual, not quite round, not quite pointed, but something in between. The label reads simply, "Moonflower blooms only in rain." You hold the page closer to the firelight, studying the delicate structure, trying to imagine what this flower would have looked like. When it was alive, what color it might have been, what scent it might have carried. Did it really only bloom in rain? Or was that poetic license? The kind of beautiful lie that contains more truth than facts ever could. The fire shifts, and a log settles with a soft sigh, sending up a small shower of sparks that die before they reach the chimney. The light changes, and for just a moment, you think you see someone sitting in the chair across from you, a figure made of shadow and firelight, there and not there, watching you with eyes you can't quite see. But when you blink, there's only the empty chair, only the fire, only the rain continuing its patient work outside. You're not frightened, though. The presence, if it was a presence, felt kind. Curious, perhaps, but not unkind. Like the cottage itself, simply observing, simply being, simply existing in that space between what is and what might be. You close the book of pressed flowers and set it aside gently, treating it with the care it deserves, the care it has received from however many hands have held it over however many years. Your eyes are growing heavy now, weighted with that particular fatigue that comes not from exhaustion, but from deep relaxation, from the kind of peace that seeps into your bones and makes them remember that rest is not weakness but necessity, not absence but presence of a different kind. You let your head rest against the back of the chair, and the wood cradles you perfectly. The firelight plays across your closed eyelids, painting patterns in reds and oranges, and you can feel the warmth on your face, gentle and steady. Outside, the rain intensifies slightly, still gentle but more insistent, and you can hear it drumming on the roof, running in small rivers down the windows, soaking into the earth around the cottage. You imagine the roots of all those wildflowers drinking deeply, storing up strength for tomorrow, for next week, for next spring, when they'll bloom again in colors bright, enough to hurt the eye. But for now, they sleep beneath the soil, content in their darkness, patient in their waiting. The cottage itself seems to breathe around you. You can hear small sounds, the expansion and contraction of wood as temperatures shift, the settling of stone, the whisper of air moving through small spaces. These are not the alarming sounds of a strange place, but the comfortable sounds of a home, of a structure that has stood for so long it has developed its own personality, its own voice, its own way of communicating with those who dwell within it. The fire paints its light across the walls, and you watch the shadows move. They don't frighten you. Nothing here frightens you. This cottage exists outside of fear, outside of worry, outside of all the things that chase you through your days and haunt you through your nights. Here, there is only warmth and rain, only firelight and shadow, only the gentle passage of moments that don't demand anything of you except that you receive them. You notice a window seat tucked into an alcove you hadn't seen before, though it must have been there all along. How did you miss it? But that's the nature of this place. It reveals itself slowly, like a story that knows there's no rush, like a secret that waits for you to be ready before it's told. The window seat is piled with cushions in faded fabrics, velvets and linens, and what might be silk, all worn soft by time and use. The colors are muted, dusty rose and sage green, faded blue, and cream colors that don't demand attention but reward it when given. You move to the window seat and arrange yourself among the cushions. They smell faintly of lavender and something else, something clean and dry, like linen hung in the Sunday. They're soft in the way that only old things can be, broken in by time and use until they've forgotten how to be anything but comfortable. You press your forehead against the cool glass and watch the world outside blur and shift. The trees are barely visible now, reduced to dark shapes in the gathering night. The rain has turned everything to watercolor, edges bleeding into edges, boundaries dissolving, everything flowing into everything else. There's a garden out there, you realize. You can see it now, or you think you can. It's hard to tell what's real and what's the product of firelight and shadows playing tricks with your tired eyes. But yes, there it is, stone paths winding between beds of herbs and flowers, all sleeping now beneath the rain. You can make out the shapes of raised beds, the arch of what might be a trellis, the gentle mound of what could be a well, its stones dark with moisture, its depths reflecting nothing but sky. You're listening to Whispering Woods, where every night brings another quiet tale. The garden in daylight must be extraordinary, you think. You can almost see it, the herbs in full leaf, their scents rising on warm air, attracting bees and butterflies. The flowers in full bloom, creating patterns of color that shift with the seasons. Spring would bring bulbs, pushing up through soil still cold from winter crocuses and snowdrops, daffodils and tulips. Summer would be roses and lavender, echinacea and black-eyed Susans, tall hollyhocks leaning against the cottage walls. Autumn would bring the final flourish, asters and sedums, ornamental grasses going to seed, the last stubborn blooms of roses refusing to give in to the coming cold. You wonder what grows in that garden that you can't see, what secrets are planted there. Are there vegetables alongside the flowers? Tomatoes and beans, lettuce and herbs for the kitchen? Are there fruit trees beyond the beds you can make out, their branches heavy with apples or pears or plums? Is there a greenhouse somewhere, its glass panes foggy with moisture, sheltering more delicate plants that need protection from the cold? You imagine the person who tends this garden? They wake early, you think, when the light is still soft, and the dew is heavy on the leaves. They walk the paths slowly, checking on each plant, noting what needs water, what needs pruning, what needs support. They talk to the plants, perhaps, the way gardeners do, offering encouragement and observation. You're looking strong today, they might say to a plant that's thriving. What do you need? They might ask one that's struggling. Their hands are probably calloused from tool handles, stained green from plant juices, strong from digging and weeding and carrying. The thought makes you smile. There's something deeply comforting about imagining that kind of care, that kind of attention, that kind of love given freely to things that cannot speak, but that respond nevertheless, growing toward the light, reaching for the sun, blooming when their time comes and then releasing their petals to the wind without complaint, without regret, understanding that this is the nature of things, the way the world works, the rhythm that underlies everything. Your reflection in the window glass is ghost-like, transparent, overlaid on the scene outside. You can see through yourself to the garden, to the rain, to the dark shapes of trees. It's as if you're becoming part of this place, as if the boundaries between you and it are beginning to dissolve, as if after enough time sitting here, looking out this window, breathing this air, you might fade into the cottage itself, become another presence in the walls, another memory in the stones, another quiet echo in the space between the beams. The rain drums a steady rhythm on the roof, and you find yourself counting the drops without meaning to 1, 2, 3, 4, until the count becomes meaningless, and it's just rhythm, just pattern, just the endless repetition that eventually becomes a kind of silence, a kind of peace, a kind of white noise that drowns out everything else until there's nothing but this, nothing but now, nothing but the sound of water falling and your own breath rising and falling in time. You shift among the cushions, finding an even more comfortable position. Your body is heavy now, sinking into the softness, supported and held. You can feel each muscle relaxing in sequence. Your feet first, then your calves, your thighs, your hips. The relaxation moves up your spine, vertebra by vertebra, releasing tension you didn't know you were holding. Your shoulders drop, your neck softens, your jaw unclenches. Even your scalp relaxes, the tiny muscles that hold your hair follicles loosening their grip. The window glass is cool against your temple, a pleasant contrast to the warmth of the fire behind you. You can feel the temperature differential. the cold from outside trying to get in, the warmth from inside trying to get out, and you're held in the balance between them, in the perfect space where neither cold nor heat dominates, where everything is exactly as it should be. Your eyes are closing now, whether you want them to or not. The cushions have softened even further, or perhaps you have, your body remembering how to let go, how to surrender to the pull of rest. The fire continues its soft conversation with itself, and you can hear it even with your eyes closed. The occasional pop, the rustle of flames consuming wood, the whisper of hot air rising up the chimney. The rain continues its patient explanation of something you don't need to understand with words. And the cottage continues to hold you. This space between spaces, this moment outside of moments, this place that exists for no other reason than to offer respite to those who find themselves walking the moss-covered path on a night when the rain has been falling for 3 days and shows no sign of stopping. You dream, but you're not sure if you're asleep or awake. The boundaries have become soft, permeable, unimportant. In the dream or in the waking, you're walking through the garden. The rain has stopped, or perhaps you've stepped between the droplets, found the secret spaces where the water doesn't fall. The plants are luminous, glowing from within, and you understand now what they are. They're memories, each one a moment preserved, each one a feeling captured and given form. Here is joy. Growing tall on a sturdy stem, its flower a brilliant yellow that seems to generate its own light. You touch its leaves and feel warmth spread through your fingers, up your arm, into your chest. Here is sorrow, its petals blue-gray like twilight, drooping slightly but still beautiful in its melancholy. You touch this one too, and feel the sweetness of sadness, the way it deepens everything, makes colors more vibrant and moments more precious. Here is love, sprawling and abundant, taking up more space than it should, crowding out the other plants but too beautiful to cut back. Its flowers are red and pink and white, all mixed together, and they smell like sunlight and laughter, and the particular warmth of being held by someone who knows you completely and loves you anyway. Here is loneliness, small and pale, growing in the shadow of a wall, its single bloom facing inward. You touch it gently, and it turns toward you, and you realize that even loneliness, when acknowledged, when honored, when given its place in the garden, has its own kind of beauty. Here is hope, climbing toward the sky, reaching and reaching and reaching. Its vine is strong and green, and it's covered in tiny flowers that open and close with your heartbeat. You watch them for a moment, mesmerized by the rhythm, open, close, like breathing, like waves, like all the things that ebb and flow, that come and go, that return again and again no matter what. You move among them, touching their leaves gently, and each one releases its essence into the air. Not a scent, exactly, but something more than that, something that bypasses the nose and goes straight to the heart, straight to the part of you that understands without needing to understand, that knows without needing to know. You feel yourself becoming lighter with each step, as if the garden is taking something from you, some burden you've been carrying so long you'd forgotten it was there. And you're grateful for the theft, grateful for the lightness, grateful for this place that knows what you need before you can name it. At the center of the garden, you find something you didn't expect, a fountain. It's simple, made of stone, circular, with water rising from the center and falling back on itself in an endless cycle. The water is clear, so clear it's almost invisible, and it makes no sound as it falls. Or perhaps the sound is so constant, so unchanging, that it's become part of the silence rather than a break in it. You cup your hands and dip them into the water. It's neither warm nor cold, just exactly the temperature of your skin, so that when you lift it to your lips, you can barely feel it. But when you drink, oh, when you drink, you taste everything. You taste rain and rivers, oceans and storms, morning dew and evening mist. You taste the water that flows in underground streams, that collects in hidden pools, that rises as vapor and falls as snow. You taste every form water has ever taken, every place it's ever been, and you understand, finally, that everything is connected, everything flows, everything returns. The dream shifts, or the waking shifts, and you're back in the cottage, but now it's different. The single room has expanded somehow. Or perhaps you're seeing it differently, seeing beyond the walls to the space that exists within them, the space that's larger on the inside than the outside, the space that contains more than should be possible. The walls are lined with windows now, or perhaps they were always there and you just didn't notice. Through each one, you can see a different scene. Through one, you see the garden in spring, everything new and green and full of promise. Through another, you see it in summer, lush and abundant, bees moving from flower to flower in their purposeful dance. Through a third, you see autumn, the colors deepening, the light growing slanted and golden, everything preparing for sleep. Through a fourth, you see winter, the garden silent under snow, but not dead, just resting, just waiting, just dreaming of spring. And in each window, you see a figure in the garden. Sometimes it's you, kneeling by a flower bed, hands in the earth. Sometimes it's someone else, someone you don't recognize but who feels familiar anyway, as if you know them not from this life but from somewhere else, sometime else. They're all tending the garden, all offering their care, all participating in the endless work of nurturing growth, encouraging bloom, managing decay, composting what has died so it can feed what will live next. You understand now that the cottage doesn't belong to one person. It belongs to everyone and no one. It's a place that exists for all those who need it, who find themselves walking the moss-covered path when the rain has been falling and showing no sign of stopping. It's a place where you can rest, can remember, can release what no longer serves you and take up what you need. It's a place between places, a moment between moments, a breath between breaths. The cottage is full of people now, or perhaps they were always there, just waiting for you to be ready to see them. They move around the space with the ease of long familiarity, each one tending to their own quiet task. Someone is arranging flowers in a jar, choosing each stem with care, creating a composition that's both intentional and effortless. Someone else is reading by the fire, lips moving slightly, speaking the words in a whisper too soft to hear. But you can feel them anyway, can feel the story being told, the ideas being explored, the worlds being created and dissolved with each turned page. Another person is kneading dough at the table, their hands moving in the ancient rhythm that humans have known since they first learned that grain and water and heat could become bread, that hunger could be answered, that care could be expressed in the simple act of feeding. Their hands are strong and sure, pressing and folding, and you can see the dough changing under their touch, becoming smooth and elastic, alive with the yeast that will make it rise, that will fill it with air and lightness, and the promise of transformation. Someone is writing in a journal, pen moving steadily across the page, filling it with words that you can't read, but can feel words about what they've seen, what they've felt, what they've learned or forgotten or remembered. Someone is sitting quietly in a corner, hands folded, eyes closed, perhaps sleeping or perhaps just being. existing in that state of presence that requires no action, no thought, no purpose beyond simply being present. No one speaks to you directly, but you feel acknowledged. You feel seen. You feel part of this quiet community of souls. All of you here in this cottage that exists outside of time. All of you seeking the same thing, a moment's peace, a breath of calm, a space where you can set down your burdens and remember that you are more than your worries, more than your fears, more than the stories you tell yourself about who you are and what you deserve. One of the figures approaches you, and though their face is unclear, their presence is warm. They don't speak, but they hold out their hand, and resting in their palm is a seed. It's small and dark, unremarkable, the kind of thing you might overlook if you weren't paying attention. But you are paying attention, and you can see that it's not just a seed. It's potential. It's possibility. It's everything that hasn't happened yet, but could, given the right conditions, given time, given care. You hold out your own hand, and they place the seed in it. The moment it touches your palm, you feel something shift inside you. It's subtle, noticeable, but it's there, a small opening, a loosening, a readiness. The seed is warm, or perhaps your hand is warm, or perhaps the warmth is being generated by the contact between them, by the transfer of possibility from their hand to yours. Plant this, they seem to say, though their lips don't move, though you hear no sound. But you understand anyway. Plant this in the dark places, in the hidden places, in the places where you think nothing can grow. Plant it and wait. Be patient. Trust. You close your hand around the seed, and when you open it again, the seed is gone, but you can feel it now, planted somewhere deep inside you, in soil you didn't know you had, taking root in darkness, beginning the slow work of growth that happens out of sight, out of mind, patient and inevitable as sunrise, as spring, as all the things that return when the time is right. The figure nods, satisfied, and turns away, returning to whatever task they were engaged in before. The cottage continues its quiet business around you. The fire burns. The rain falls. The people move through their small, meaningful tasks, and you sit among them, part of the community, part of the moment, part of the endless cycle of arrival and departure, of rest and renewal, of planting and harvest. Before you drift off, remember to follow Whispering Woods for tomorrow's story. Time passes, though you're not sure how much. The fire burns down slightly, then seems to rebuild itself. The rain stops, then starts again, then stops. The light in the cottage shifts, grows dimmer, grows brighter, settles into a gentle glow that could be dawn or dusk, or the timeless light of a place that exists outside of days and nights, outside of hours and minutes, outside of any measurement except the breath, the heartbeat, the slow pulse of existence itself. Your eyes are fully closed now, have been for some time, though you're still aware of the cottage around you, still aware of the warmth and the rain and the quiet, presences moving through the space. You're suspended in that state between waking and sleeping, between consciousness and dreams, between being here and being nowhere, being everywhere, being simply present in the vast darkness that contains all lights, all moments, all possibilities. The fire has burned down to coals now, but they glow with a heat that requires no fuel, that gives without taking, that warms without consuming. Each coal is a small universe, a tiny sun, and if you look closely, though your eyes are closed, though you're seeing not with eyes but with something else, you can see galaxies in them, star systems, entire worlds being born and dying, and being born again in the space of a breath, in the space of a heartbeat, in the space between thoughts. The rain has softened to barely more than mist now, just the occasional drop finding its way through the leaves to land with the softest of sounds on the earth below. Each drop is a note in a song that's been playing since before the beginning, and will continue long after the end. Each drop is a word in a story that has no beginning and no ending. That simply is, that simply continues, that simply flows from moment to moment like water, like time, like the breath that moves through you without your conscious effort, without your permission, without your control. The night has deepened into that particular darkness that comes before dawn, when the world is suspended in the space between yesterday and tomorrow, when anything seems possible, when all stories are waiting to be told, when all seeds are waiting to sprout. This is the hour when transformations happen, when caterpillars become butterflies in their chrysalises, when bread dough rises silently in covered bowls, when ideas that have been germinating in the unconscious finally break through into awareness. You let yourself sink deeper into the cushions, deeper into rest, deeper into this state of being that has no name, but that you recognize, somehow, as if you've been here before, as if you've always been here. As if this is the place you return to every night when sleep finally claims you, though you never remember it in the morning, though it exists only in that space beyond memory, beyond thought, beyond the reach of your waking mind. The cottage breathes around you. You can feel it now the way the walls expand slightly with warmth and contract slightly with cool, the way the floor settles and shifts by fractions of inches, the way the roof bears the weight of rain and releases it, the way the chimney draws air up and out, creating a gentle current that keeps the fire burning, that keeps the smoke rising, that keeps everything flowing in the right direction. The direction it needs to go, and you're breathing with it, your breath synchronized with the cottage's breath, with the earth's breath, with the slow respiration of the planet itself as it turns through space, as it orbits the sun, as it carries all of you, every human, every animal, every plant, every stone, through the darkness, through the light, through the endless dance of cosmic movements that you're part of, whether you know it or not, whether you pay attention or not, whether you acknowledge it or not. The people in the cottage have grown quieter, or perhaps they've faded, or perhaps you've simply stopped perceiving them in the way you were before. But they're still there. You can feel them. Their presence like a warm pressure in the air, like the feeling you get when someone is standing nearby even when you can't see them, even when you're not looking. They're your companions in rest, your fellow travelers, all of you here in this space between spaces, all of you taking refuge from whatever storms drove you to walk that moss-covered path, to knock on that weathered door, to accept the invitation that was offered without words. In your hand, or perhaps in your heart, or perhaps in some other location that has no physical correspondence, you can still feel the seed. It's growing now, you realize. Not quickly, not dramatically, but steadily, inevitably, the way seeds do when they're planted in the right soil, at the right depth, with the right amount of moisture and warmth. You can feel the tiny root pushing down, seeking anchor, seeking nutrients, seeking the stability that will allow the shoot to push up. You can feel the shoot swelling, preparing for its journey toward light, gathering its strength, waiting for the moment when it will break through the surface and unfurl its first leaves. And you understand that this is happening not just in some metaphorical sense, but in a real sense, in the most real sense possible. Something is growing in you, something planted by this place, by this night, by this rain that has been falling for 3 days. Something that will emerge in its own time, that can't be rushed or forced. That will reveal itself when the conditions are right. When you're ready, when the world is ready to receive whatever gift this seed contains. The fire whispers its last words to the darkness, and they're words you don't understand with your mind, but that your body comprehends perfectly. They're words about transformation and continuation, about how nothing truly ends but only changes form, about how the energy released by burning wood becomes heat and light, becomes the warmth that keeps you comfortable, the illumination that allows you to see, and eventually becomes something else entirely. Thoughts, perhaps, or dreams, or the subtle shifts in consciousness that occur when you're balanced perfectly between waking and sleeping, between being here and being nowhere. The rain continues, patient, eternal, necessary. It falls on the cottage, on the garden, on the forest, on the whole sleeping world. It falls on mountains and valleys, on cities and deserts, on oceans that hardly need more water but receive it anyway. It falls without judgment, without preference, without any agenda except to fall, to return to Earth what Earth released as vapor, to complete the cycle that has been completing itself since water first condensed on this planet billions of years ago. Your breathing slows and deepens, matching the rhythm of the Earth itself, the great, slow pulse that underlies everything, that was there before you arrived and will continue long after you've gone. Each breath in brings something oxygen, yes, but also the essence of this place, the peace of this moment, the gift of this rest. Each breath out releases something carbon dioxide, yes, but also tension, worry, all the accumulated stress and fear and doubt that you've been carrying without even realizing it was weighing you down. In this rhythm, this exchange, you find a profound simplicity. Breathing is the most basic thing, the first thing you did when you were born and the last thing you'll do before you die. It requires no thought, no effort, no skill. Your body knows how to do it, has been doing it since your first moment, will continue doing it until your last. And yet, there's something sacred in it, something profound in this constant exchange between inside and outside, between self and world, between taking in and giving back. The night continues its patient work around you. The stars wheel overhead, though you can't see them through the rain clouds, though their light is blocked by water vapor and darkness. But they're there, continuing their ancient dance, burning their impossible fires in the frozen vacuum of space, sending their light out into the universe where most of it will never be seen, will never touch anything, will simply travel forever through the expanding darkness until the universe itself ends or transforms into whatever comes next. The trees stand sentinel in the darkness, their roots deep in the earth, their branches reaching toward sky. They're sleeping, too, in their way, slowed by the cold, conserved for winter, dreaming. Whatever dreams, trees dream dreams of spring, perhaps of sap rising and buds swelling, of leaves unfurling and photosynthesis beginning again, of the great work of converting sunlight into life, of breathing out oxygen so that creatures like you can breathe in, of being part of the vast exchange that keeps everything alive, everything connected, everything flowing in the right direction. The wildflowers sleep in the garden, their roots drinking deep from the rain-soaked soil. Their seeds, dropped in autumn, are nestling into the earth, waiting for spring, waiting for warmth, waiting for the signal that tells them it's time to begin. Some will sprout, will grow, will bloom, will create more seeds, will complete the cycle. Others won't make it. They'll be eaten by animals, will land in poor soil, will sprout but not survive, will become part of the vast majority of seeds that never become plants. But that's all right. That's part of the design. The abundance ensures continuation. The waste ensures selection, and everything that doesn't grow feeds something else, becomes compost, becomes soil, becomes the foundation for next year's growth. The pressed flowers wait in their book, each one a small eternity, each one a moment that refused to pass completely, that insisted on being remembered. They've been dead for years, for decades, for centuries perhaps, and yet they're also still alive in their way, still beautiful, still able to evoke emotion, still able to connect the person who sees them now with the person who placed them there then. Across whatever gulf of time separates those two moments, they're proof that some things can last, that care and attention can preserve beauty, that love expressed through small actions, the gathering, the pressing, the labeling, the protecting can outlive the person who expressed it. And you, held by the cottage that exists between worlds, you rest, you breathe, you drift into that darkness that is not absence but presence, not ending but transformation, not loss but change. You're held here, suspended here, protected here, in this space that exists for exactly this purpose, to offer rest to the weary, peace to the troubled, shelter to those who've been wandering too long in the rain. The cottage will still be here tomorrow. You know that now. It will always be here, waiting, existing in that timeless space that can be accessed whenever you need it, whenever you walk the moss-covered path, whenever you accept the invitation that's offered without words. And you can return whenever you need to, whenever the world becomes too much, whenever you need to remember what peace feels like, what rest feels like, what it feels like to be held by something larger than yourself, something older than your worries, something that understands, without needing explanation, what you need and offers it freely, generously, without asking anything in return. The rain will still be falling in the morning, but it doesn't matter. You're safe here. You're held here. You're home here, in this place between places, this moment outside of moments. And tomorrow, or the next day, or whenever you're ready, you'll walk back down that moss-covered path and return to the world you came from. But you'll carry something with you, a seed planted deep, a warmth that won't fade, a memory of firelight and rain, and the cottage that waits, always waits, for the next traveler who finds themselves walking through the mist when they've forgotten what sunshine feels like. The rain continues, each drop a small promise, each drop a tiny gift. Your breathing deepens, becomes barely perceptible, becomes almost indistinguishable from the breathing of the cottage itself, from the breathing of the earth, from the great, slow respiration of everything that lives and grows and eventually returns to the soil from which it came. You're part of it now, part of the cycle, part of the flow, and there's great comfort in that, great peace in understanding that you're not separate, not isolated, not alone, but connected, always connected, to everything that is. The fire breathes its last ember into darkness, but the darkness is not cold or frightening. It's warm, welcoming, the darkness of soil where seeds germinate, the darkness of the womb where life begins, the darkness of closed eyes where dreams unfold. It's the darkness that existed before light and will exist after light, the darkness that contains all possibilities, all potentials, all the things that haven't yet been born but are waiting, gathering their strength, preparing for their moment to emerge. And somewhere, in that garden, sleeping beneath the night, the first green shoot of that seed you were given pushes through the soil, reaches toward a light it cannot yet see, but knows, somehow, is waiting, reaching toward morning, reaching toward spring, reaching toward all the tomorrows that bloom from the seeds we plant in darkness, in rain. In the quiet hours when the world is suspended, and we remember, finally, how to rest. The cottage holds you as the night deepens toward dawn. The rain whispers its endless story against the windows, against the roof, against the earth that receives it gratefully, that drinks it in, that transforms it into growth, into life, into the green abundance that will return when the season turns, when the wheel completes another revolution, when spring comes again as it always does, as it always will, as it has done since the beginning and will do until the end. And you, safe and warm and held, drift deeper into sleep, into dreams that taste of earth and smoke and flowers pressed between pages, preserved forever, beautiful and still. Dreams that taste of rain and firelight, and the particular peace that comes from knowing you're exactly where you need to be, doing exactly what you need to do, which in this moment is simply resting, simply breathing, simply being. The pressed flowers wait in their book, and the living flowers sleep in the garden, and the seeds rest in the soil, and you rest in the cottage, and the cottage rests in the valley, and the valley rests in the arms of the mountains, and the mountains rest on the earth, and the earth rests in space, and space rests in time, and time rests in eternity, and eternity rests in itself, complete and whole and perfect, needing nothing, wanting nothing, simply being what it is, simply holding what it holds, simply continuing as it has always continued and will always continue. The rain knows this. The fire knew this. The cottage knows this. And now you know it too, or you're beginning to know it, or you're remembering what you've always known but had forgotten. The knowledge that lives in your bones, in your blood, in your breath, the knowledge that doesn't come from learning but from being, from existing, from participating in the great dance of life and death and life again that's been unfolding since the beginning of time. Your last conscious thought, before sleep claims you completely, is of gratitude. Gratitude for the rain that brought you here. Gratitude for the path that led you to this door. Gratitude for the cottage that opened itself to you. Gratitude for the fire that warmed you. Gratitude for the book that showed you beauty preserved. Gratitude for the seed that was planted. Gratitude for this moment, this rest, this peace that you've been seeking without knowing what you were seeking, that you've been moving toward your whole life, that you finally found here, in this place, between places, this moment outside of time. The cottage receives your gratitude without acknowledgement, without response, because it needs no thanks, expects no payment, wants nothing except to continue doing what it does, which is offering shelter, offering warmth, offering rest to all who find their way here, to all who walk the moss-covered path when the rain has been falling and showing no sign of stopping. And as sleep finally takes you completely, as consciousness dissolves into the soft darkness of dreams, the cottage continues its vigil. The fire burns low but never quite goes out. The rain falls soft but never quite stops. And somewhere in the garden, in the dark soil, seeds are germinating, roots are growing. Life is preparing itself for the next emergence, the next blooming, the next season of growth and abundance. The cottage knows that you'll wake in the morning, or whenever morning comes to this place, and you'll stretch and rise and probably wonder if any of this was real. You'll probably walk back down that path, return to your life, resume your routines. But you'll be different, changed in ways you might not notice right away, but that will reveal themselves slowly, gradually. The way planted seeds reveal themselves, pushing up through soil when the time is right, unfurling their leaves when the conditions are perfect, blooming in their season without rush, without force, simply because that's what seeds do when they're planted in the right place at the right time with the right care. The cottage will wait for your return. It will wait for everyone's return. Because everyone needs rest eventually. Everyone needs shelter from the rain that's been falling too long. Everyone needs a place where they can set down their burdens, release their tensions, remember what peace feels like. Remember what it means to simply be without doing, to simply exist without striving, to simply rest without guilt or worry or the pressure to be somewhere else, someone else, something else. This is the gift of the moss-covered path that appears when you need it most, even when you don't know you need it, even when you're not looking for it, even when you've forgotten that such places exist, that such peace is possible, that such rest is available to you whenever you need it. The night holds you. The cottage holds you. The earth holds you. And in this holding, this cradling, this gentle support that asks nothing and gives everything, you find the deepest rest you've known in longer than you can remember. You find the peace that exists beneath all the noise and chaos of daily life. You find the stillness that's always there, always available, always waiting for you to slow down enough, to quiet down enough, to rest deeply enough to notice it. And the rain continues, will continue, has always been continuing. The patient rain that knows no hurry, that falls without agenda, that gives itself freely to the earth that receives it, that participates in the great cycle of rising and falling, of evaporation and precipitation, of giving and receiving, of emptying and filling, of death and rebirth that underlies everything, that is everything, that you are part of whether you know it or not. Sleep now. Rest now. Let go now. The cottage has you. The night has you. The rain has you. And in the morning, whenever morning comes, whenever you're ready, you'll wake refreshed, renewed, remembering or not remembering this place, this night, this gift of rest that was offered and accepted, that was given and received, that was needed and provided. But for now, sleep. For now, rest. For now, let everything else fall away until there's nothing but breath, nothing but heartbeat, nothing but the soft darkness that holds all dreams, all possibilities, all the tomorrows that are waiting to be born from the seeds planted tonight in the dark soil of your sleeping mind. The cottage stands in the rain. The fire glows in the hearth. The pressed flowers wait in their book. The living flowers sleep in the garden. And you, finally, blessedly, completely rest.